Welcome to another episode of Athlete Things, and today's episode we have Brittany Suplicki, hailing from the US, one of Kelly Mann's lifters. Now, obviously, most of our kind of audience is from Australia, so Brittany, I'll just get you to introduce yourself, how long you've been lifting for, all that jazz first.
Yeah, sure. So I have been competitively powerlifting for, I think I'm going on year 5, but I kind of lost track in here somehow. But I started lifting weights probably 12 years ago. So I had a bit of a background in it before I decided I wanted to be competitive.
Yeah, sweet. And you were competing under USAPL, that's right?
Right. Yeah, that was pretty much the only option in the United States, right? Like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
As far as tested lifting that went anywhere, right? There's plenty of other options, but yeah, so I was lifting in USAPL up until this year when I switched to PA.
Yeah, sick. How's training been so far? What's been kind of going on? How long have you been working with Kelly for?
I've been working with Kelly since June, so I guess 6 months or so. Training's been kind of hit or miss. I think that answer would have been a lot different like 2 weeks ago, but I ended up hurting my back a couple weeks ago, so training's been kind of shit since then. But outside of that, in the moment here, training's been pretty good. It's interesting working with a new coach. It's different, right? And you get to learn like kind of a different way, right? And really expand your horizons. So that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So just recently you've switched over to PA, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. I think I did my first PA meet maybe in October or somewhere along that.
Okay. And the goal is obviously to get to the world stage. And for you, that's going to be your first time competing, not only just outside of the US and just, it's going to be your first worlds, first international. How's that been on you mentally?
That's such an interesting question. So yeah, it would be my first worlds. And I had qualified for worlds 2 years ago, right before USAPL got kicked out. So I was set to go, had a flight booked, all of the things, right? And then obviously everybody knew there was some drama, but it was presented as it's so close, you're not going to get kicked out this soon kind of deal. And then I logged on to Instagram one day and saw the post that the USAPL was suspended. So that was as a 57. So since then, with kind of Kelly's encouragement and some conversations, I have moved up a weight class. So at this point in my life, world seems so far off, but that is definitely the long-term goal as I continue to fill out this weight class and kind of see if I can get some solid training underneath me here.
Yeah. And
who do you have this competition? Sorry.
No, you go see.
Who's competition in America over there for your weight class?
Oh, Meg Scanlon for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah,
shit.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys know that.
So that's
which is so interesting.
How do you feel about that, knowing that you're in the weight class with the current world champion? Does that play on your mind a bit or anything, or you just don't care?
No, I don't think about it at all. When I switched to working with Kelly, I had intended to stay as a 57, but she was correct in saying that it just wasn't possible for me anymore. I was too big. So at that point, switching to 63, I know I'm still a small 63. I haven't trained at this body weight ever in my life. So like I said, world seems so far off. I don't really think about it right now. I'm kind of thinking, let's fill out this weight class. Let's actually see how strong I can get at this body weight, because I really have no idea.
Yeah, it's cool being in that position.
What are some of the
how's the weight? Sorry, you guys
starting all over again.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go. What are some of the things you're kind of noticing so far going up in weight class? Like obviously it's only been, probably 4, 5, 6 months, but like, is it having like a positive effect on your training already? We notice your bench like is kind of booming right now. Like, is there those kind of benefits?
Yeah, I mean, the clearest benefit is my quality of life is a lot better, right? I was really keeping my weight artificially low. So in the off season, I'd pretty easily sit at 61 or 62 kilos. Then I'd have to cut down and then water cut to 57. And even
Yes,
sitting at
sure.
61, 62 took a bit of effort and like a lot of coordination of my life. So yeah, sleep is better, energy is better, attitude is better, all of those things. And with training, it took a while for me to notice any distinctive benefits. And I think because a lot of it was I had so much cumulative fatigue from training for the past year and a half. And then, all of the dieting, all of the cutting, all of that stuff that comes with that. But yeah, I would say over the last 2 months, training at a higher body weight has kind of, I guess, kicked in, and then bench has definitely started taking off as I've figured that out too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite hard sitting at like that low body weight for such a longer period of time, right? Like you've been a 57 pretty much all of your career up to this point, and over time you've built up so much muscle mass that it's hard to stay within that weight class and also like keep getting stronger, right? And you've mentioned training as a 57 wasn't the best, like you ran into like back issues. Do you feel like holding on to that lower body weight was a factor?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it was really forced keeping it that low, right? So my kind of calorie intake was chronically pretty low. I ended up dieting most of the year to make weight for 2 competitions because my weight would rebound up so quickly because I was quite lean at 57, or U57. So yeah, definitely when you have that low body fat, and especially as a woman, right, you start running into some hormonal issues, all of that kind of stuff, which negatively impacts training.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Did you have like many kind of, was it getting harder and harder to make weight in terms of like competition performance? Like, did you feel like you had like a run of like bad cuts, bad performances, and then that was like the deciding factor as well?
I only had one bad cut, and it was my last competition as it was a 56, right? So USAPL changed
Yeah,
their weight class.
that extra
I
kilo.
made probably the not best decision, definitely a not great decision to go 56. Kind of idea was get my body weight back down and get back into cutting because I hadn't cut in over a year. And that was by far the worst cut of my life. I ended up having to sweat out a significant amount of water. Performance was terrible. And it was, with the extra kilo being cut, all of that, yeah, that was the deciding factor of I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, especially that extra kilo. Hey, like that's going to make a massive difference as a
Yes.
percentage of your body weight. Like that's a huge cut.
Yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal.
How was the mental side of that? I know I've had some really tough cuts as well, and just like those last few hours, they're not fun.
No, yeah, I was, in the hot bath. That's what I had available to me where we were
Yeah.
sweating. You could see the heart rate beating in your chest. Your heart rate's
Oh.
so high from being so hot. Stepping on the scale, just praying for some loss. It was absolutely brutal. And looking back, I'm really lucky I wasn't in the hospital at the end of that whole ordeal because it was hours of trying to sweat off this weight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had the same thing before
Ugh.
state competition. I think I got up like 6 hours before, had to hot
Yeah.
bath, and I hot bathed the night before, and then I was spitting the whole time, kept bathing. I
Yeah.
weighed 74.00 when I was like, stepping on the scales. I was like, nah, oh shit. Oh, we're good. Trying to like
Oh,
move
okay.
around on the scale. It was flickering between 74.00 and 74.05.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. And that was my worst performance in my life as well.
For sure. Yeah, that takes a lot out of you. I don't know that people realize how much like sweating and getting that hot takes out of you.
Yeah, and I think it's like the mental side as well as like, am I gonna make it? Like, I'm
Yeah.
running a really fine line here.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
You almost
Yes.
like can't even think about the competition and lifting until you make weight, right? Like the first
Steps.
job.
It's steps. That's job one, and then you go to job two, which is the recomp, and then job three, lifting.
Yeah. I remember Panna talking about that, like, because obviously he was cutting so much to 66. He was like, first job as a powerlifter is to make weight, and then the next job is actually lifting.
Yeah.
I find
Yeah,
it bloody
that's it.
hard enough losing 3 kilos at 123.
Yeah, I've water cut a bit over 3 to get to 57, and I was fine with it. It was the 56 that crushed me.
Yeah.
Never again. I'm not that small.
And then what are some of the things you're doing then, like with your nutrition? Like, are you working with someone to help you get up, or like are you pretty experienced in that kind of field yourself?
Yeah, I've worked with people before. I'm pretty experienced with managing my weight. I wasn't too hesitant in making this change. Like I said, I was sitting at 61, 62 pretty effortlessly.
Yeah.
So now I'm sitting 63, 64, also pretty effortlessly, right? To me, kind of managing nutrition is just another daily act. I eat pretty similar all day. It's not
Yeah.
that challenging to me.
Yeah. I think for myself, like I resonate a lot. Like as Steve's my coach, we've also had the discussion about switching weight classes and just everything that went into that, like handling with going into competition and getting it more stressful every single time we go into prep. It's affecting training and just quality of life. So everything you're saying is like going up in weight is almost the right decision to make in that case. And it's hard once you're getting to that top level and it's like, what are you giving up by switching this weight class? As you said, like competition moving up then becomes the next big thing. And it's scary to think like, all right, I'm moving on to face this person that's already well established within this weight class, right? And
Yeah.
it's hard, but it's the right move, especially
It
if you
was
want to.
a really challenging decision, and Kelly and I went back and forth on it a lot. And the whole plan prior to the USAPL getting kicked out was I was going to compete at Worlds in a 57, and I was never going to be a 57 again, right? So part of moving up a weight class was me having to come to terms with that's dead. We're moving past that, right? And like maybe Worlds happens as a 63, maybe it doesn't. But it probably wasn't happening as a 57 anymore either because I've outgrown the class too much and I just couldn't do it.
Was your goal very externally driven as a 57? Like it was always worlds?
At that point in my kind of lifting career, yeah, absolutely. I had gone to nationals. That was my third time going. First time was let's just do what we can do. Second time was let's win. I took second. And then third time was for sure, let's win. Let's go to worlds. Let's see what this is about.
Yeah. And so how
How
have
did you?
oh, you go, Steve.
I was going to ask how did you deal yourself with the split from USAPL and the IPF?
Honestly, looking back, I did not deal well at all with it. It was very challenging to care about powerlifting for a while because that was like so abruptly taken away. It felt rather personal, despite it not being personal at all, right? But like I said, athletes were kept pretty in the dark about it. We were kept 100% in the dark about the ongoings behind. I found out from an Instagram post that, we're not going. So it felt like you threw so much, so much time, so much effort, so much money, so much of your life into this one thing. And then 1 second it's just gone, right? And you had no control over that. So the maybe post 6 months period were pretty challenging. I found it really hard to be I don't want to say motivated. Training to me is just kind of something I do every day, right? But the next step wasn't clear. I didn't know what was next.
Yeah, well, it sounds like since the start of this conversation, especially it's like Worlds has always been kind of at the forefront of your mind, and then like feels like that just the rug just got swept out from under you, and you had no choice what to do. And I feel like a lot of people were lost in the States. We had the same, obviously, in Australia a few years ago with PA getting kicked out of. It's funny using our PA. Our PA got kicked out of the IPF.
Right.
And we were the same. I made the immediate decision. Like the day it happened, I was like, okay, I'm going wherever whatever the IPF is because, well, it's all I care about. But the USAPL is such a well-renowned and established federation in itself, where you guys actually have, across the board and the depth in that federation, probably the strongest athletes in the world. Like you could have your own kind of your nationals is stronger than worlds almost, right? Besides the few other people from across the world. So it's a bit of a different situation in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, the decision to stay in USAPL one more year, it was almost I wouldn't say it's forced upon me, but I knew I couldn't go to South Africa last year just because of some like personal life stuff. My husband was switching jobs. It just wasn't the right time to travel across the world. So at that point, I was like, why switch federations to go compete maybe in a small meet? I had the opportunity to do the Arnold on like the main stage. So I was like, well, I'll do that and kind of do that one time before I make the switch. But I knew at some point I was out of there. So it was just a matter of when, not if.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's the other difference too. You have the Arnold, you have all these sports festivals, all the big competitions there where it's big lights, Americanized, I'd say. Whereas we don't have anything like that. We got like local, state, nationals, and then you get to go to worlds, and they're all kind of they're quite similar in the way that they are and ran. It's just sometimes some of them have a bit more lifters.
Right. Yeah, here it's different. Nationals is like a spectacle. That's the best way I could describe it, right? It's just wild how many people are there. The whole thing, it's a spectacle.
Yeah, that same as the Arnold as well that you have. Like that's I remember
the Arnold's just crazy, yeah.
They did that. It's like kind of like the first time they ran straight off winning on Wilkes 1 formula. Yeah, they ran it that year, like the pro-am, I think, or something.
I forgot what they're calling it now, which is terrible because I was just there last year, but I think it was the pro-am at that point.
Yeah, and it just we've never had anything like that to kind of go to compete at. So for myself especially, it was immediate. I was like, no, worlds is the pinnacle that we can get to in Australia. So we got to get there. Whereas you have kind of a lot of competitions that aren't, I guess, worlds, but they're really, really high standard and really high level as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the Arnold, I mean, you just experience so much of like the whole fitness community there, right? It's just, I mean, people everywhere. It was so loud. There was a strongman event going on behind us. And it was when Chloe something lifted like the 700 pounds of stones. So it was so loud. You could like feel it in your heart, in your chest, right? So you get like that environment, which you just don't find anywhere else. So if you like that kind of like high hype environment, the Arnold is the place for that.
Yeah, it was something that I always wanted to do, but it would probably never happen now.
It seems Worlds is like almost the complete opposite. It's very proper. There's like not much cheering.
Yeah.
I guess like
they say that a lot here in the States.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the USAPL thing to say against the IPF, right? Is like Worlds is like quiet and whatever.
Could definitely affect the way you prepare as well, though. Like if you know you're going to the Arnold, you can just be, I guess, a bit more uninhibited and just train within the culture that you're comfortable with. But then once you go to Worlds, it's like you have to consider that unpredictability and like you're not used to being in an environment like that.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, like the Arnold environment's more challenging. I train in my gym alone, right? So it's like quiet. I have to bring any energy that I'm going to have in that session has to come from me. So when I get to a place that's that loud Arnold Nationals, like I'm noise canceling headphones, I'm looking at the ground, I'm not paying attention to the massive amount of things going on around me.
Do you feel like training at home is a benefit for you?
Hit or miss. If I had a choice, I would probably do half my sessions at home and half in a gym, right? I like the home atmosphere to be able to focus a little more. Time management's easier at home, right? Nobody's talking to you, but certainly some sessions I would love to have a gym atmosphere. I just don't have access to one where I live now.
Yeah. I think the big benefit is like being able to know what makes you tick in a gym, like a home setting. And so you don't rely on that external motivation and like all that arousal, say from the Arnold, right? Like Steve, I know you used to train at home as well. Was that the same for you?
Yeah. It was really being able to just draw from my own kind of energy sources and my own mental, which I bring now, right? Around people, and I can also just like go off on myself at the same time. I enjoyed it. I enjoy training alone and just getting the job done. But at the same time, I like having people around, having the banter, having some fun as well. But it was a good time period because it was really, you're by yourself. And it's like sometimes you put something on the bar. I've hit some PRs that I still never hit without a spotter in a garage, knowing that like true well, if I fail this, like my combo is going through the wall behind me.
There's nothing worse than a squat fail on a combo. Absolutely nothing worse.
Yeah. And just having to do it. Having to be like, okay, I gotta do it.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
Builds a different type of character.
when you foul your squat in the combo, you have to like jump forward and hold the front of it down really quickly so that it doesn't topple over on top of you. I've definitely been there.
I actually never failed any, so I'm kind of lucky. But I know that's what I was afraid of, because I know like I'm home alone, and if I miss this, I've got to hold that forward, and then like try and take weights off the side so I can. I was like, I'm just not gonna miss.
No, yeah, I've missed a couple. It's brutal and terrifying. You see your life right before your eyes for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I wanna take it back to, now that you've moved up a weight class and Worlds doesn't seem to be as immediate as it was when you were 57. What's the main thing that's keeping you going now?
Man, I trained long before I competed in powerlifting and trained because I enjoyed it. So that's the main thing that I train for still, right? It's just something I do every day. It's scheduled into my day. I like it. I like the whole process of it. I don't necessarily need a competition on the books to be motivated to go out in the gym. It's kind of irrelevant for me.
The qualifying in the States though it's a bit different. Is there a way that you could potentially squeeze into the American team?
I wouldn't say this year. I mean, just because I would have to total pretty darn high at nationals, which I'm not doing currently. So definitely not this year. Because the way they switched the qualifying to use Carpino scores this year. Yeah. And the 63 is pretty high because of Leah, of course. So yeah, pretty unlikely. I don't even know I haven't looked at the roster at all. I'm terrible. I don't know who's showing up even on the female side in general.
Very internally motivated at this point then.
Very internally motivated. Kind of have to be sometimes, right?
Yeah, right. And plus you're going through like a back injury you mentioned. Have you gone through something like this in the past?
I've dealt with, little pains and such that have deterred training, but I've never dealt with a back injury in powerlifting. I've never for like 2 weeks in this last month, I couldn't even put my shoes on. So I definitely couldn't deadlift, right? There's just no way down to the bar. This is the first time I haven't been able to squat and deadlift in a long time. So it's been mentally challenging in that aspect.
Yeah. Messes with your identity at that point.
What was that?
You guys safe?
I see you're taking the wins with bench at the moment.
Bench only. Yeah, my zero leg fatigue is really helping my bench, I think.
Yeah.
Do you have to change your bench at all with the new shit show of rules that are going on at the moment?
No, I don't. I always had a really long range of motion, which was to my detriment until now. Now it's a great thing.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've been gifted with these long arms. Finally, this year's my time to shine.
Finally.
On safety height 6.
Yeah.
Wow.
Steve's found a way to try and obscure his arms so they can't see his elbows. So I want to try
you better keep that quiet. You can't say that out loud.
It's too late.
We'll cut this.
Yeah.
cut this out, man. They're still trying to figure out how to judge it. You need to cut that out.
Yeah, there's many different perspectives on it. I think like it could have been, my take is like it could have been written up a bit better, clearer for the refs to see. Like I guess the rules, I guess they were trying to fix depth and just try and make it look a bit more of a spectacle, like squat and deadlift. But
did you see
it's just made it so hard. Sorry, you guys saying?
They come out with a post this morning. Did you see that on the IPF page? They came out with like a reel using Sophia Strength from Great Britain, and it's like her explaining the points of the shoulder and the markings that you should actually use. So like they're using that as like the main clarification for people to be like, okay, no, this is what you're meant to look for. Just an Instagram reel.
I saw
Oh,
it. It's like when
no.
she posted it like 2 months ago, but just a little different. And then yeah, I just pieced it together, and now that's the real clarification.
Yeah, it's like there's big blow up on social media. Everyone's saying, "Oh, we need clarification," and then just like say no more. I'll give you a little. I'll give you a little
You
reel.
got this. I think it's funny because like the point was to decrease arching, right? I have a huge arch at this point, and my range of motion is still plenty in by any rule I can find. So it's really funny.
Yeah. It's an odd rule because like I reduced my arch and like my depth doesn't change. I manipulate a
that
lot
makes
of things
sense.
that I'm doing. My depth doesn't change. It's ridiculous. And then I didn't even care about it until Monday when I seen that Danish guy
Right.
not do too well. I honestly wasn't even thinking about it. I was like, I don't care. Keep my ass down. I'll get 2-1. Good lift.
Yeah. It's like that. It basically is the don't make your bench look stupid rule. That's how they should have just wrote it. Like if somebody thinks your bench is stupid, red lights. That's it. That's about how clear it is.
Yeah,
Anyway.
100%.
Yeah.
They wanted the sport to be more mainstream, but now we're just suffering because of it.
Yeah. It's rough.
So,
Well, I mean, getting to a high level though, like you're going to adjust regardless. Like whatever the rules are, you've been in the sport long enough to like be able to adjust and be adaptable, right? Like I guess that's a big theme that I hear from yourself. Like, you're going through a back injury, you've changed the weight class. Pretty much you're going to go through all these changes the longer your career goes. And to the point where even the rules of the sport change. So
yeah, I guess you have to figure it out, right? At the end of the day, you figure it out or you leave. Those are your choices.
yeah.
Figure it out or quit. Yeah.
Take up CrossFit or Olympic lifting or strongman.
Oh God, I don't think I have the mobility for any of that.
No, we'll figure it out. I think that's the way it is. Like once we didn't come this far just to have a rule or something like that, or like a setback or an injury stop us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're bound to go through stuff, right? You do anything long enough, it's not always going to be like a straight linear path there. So, yeah.
No.
What's it looking like then? So how far away is PA Nats? It's like soon, isn't it?
So PA Nats, I think, is like 5 weeks away. I honestly decided not to sign up like 2 weeks ago, probably. I think at this point, if I was at least reasonably squatting and deadlifting something semi-respectable, I could be coerced otherwise. But I mean, it's not there right now. So the way I described it is I've had enough performances in the last year I'm not proud of. I'm not interested in going to piece together something subpar again. So that's the best way I can explain it. I'm not motivated by that right now. I'm not interested in having another like performance that's not up to the standard I want to hold myself to. So,
yeah. Well, you're probably in a good position, right? Because like you've kind of accepted that, with everything going on, this year's Worlds, isn't in the spotlight. So now, like going up a weight class, you can use all this time to just really lap it up, put on some good weight, get healthy, and then February next year, just come out and go on a tear.
That's the idea. This is the first time I've had so much time since I started powerlifting. So it'll be interesting what I can do with it, I guess.
You're going to be getting all those newbie gains again.
That would be great. It's been so long,
Back to that feeling of just like automatically adding 2.5, 5 kilos. Don't have to think about it. Just keep putting it on every single session.
Every week you're stronger. That is how my bench feels right now. It's fantastic. Like my beginning of the week bench days are already heavier than like the kind of end of week day ones where I'm like, this is great.
What did you hit? What did you hit last week? I saw the side angle. What was your single?
I think a couple of weeks ago I hit 110, which is 5 kilos over anything I've hit in a meet. And I took 105, which is my meet PR for 2 last weekend. So that was fun.
That's it. Hunting down the two red Vickies.
That's it. That's what I want. Yeah, that's next.
Yeah.
Can't even buy a bench PR.
Go up a weight class. I found it works.
No.
Is that confirmed? Steve going up a weight class confirmed?
Me going up a weight class?
Yeah.
Nah. It's not gonna happen. Not for a bit. Got some stuff to do first.
Yeah.
Stuff to do first.
My next step is 120 plus, and I just can't accept struggling to get upstairs when I'm like 130, 140 kilos.
Yeah, that's tough because then you have to get almost as big as possible, right?
Yeah.
If you go 1 plus.
It's already hard enough getting on and off the floor. And then there's guys like Jesus and shit, buddy, doing what they do at 120 plus.
Yep.
Big
Monsters.
boys. All right, well, I think we've covered quite a bit. Is there anything else like you wanted to bring up or chat about today, Britt?
No, I have nothing.
Yeah, that's sweet.
How
No rants.
How are you?
Oh, Steve, here we go. There you go.
You're yourself. Like, do you have a competitive side as well? Obviously, you do because you want to go to Worlds, and that's all you've spoken about the whole time. Can tell that that's you as a person. But do you have like a competitive streak where you want to, I guess, beat everyone as well, or beat, well, obviously everyone in your weight class, but are you internally competitive as well? Like, do you have this drive?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been an athlete my entire life, so competition's kind of been what my life was built around, right? So we also have to be realistic, right? Like 63s are
100%.
totaling 520 plus, right? That's pretty far away from me right now. So I can't be like, yeah, I'm going to go out there and beat everyone. That's not real life, right? So definitely years prior, right? Last couple of years when I was competing with the 57, for sure, the main goal was the main goal, right? We're going to beat everyone. That's it. I'm capable of this. Sometimes you just have to change that a little bit until you get closer.
Yeah. So right now, I guess obviously it's coming back. So looking at it from back then to now, do you feel like anything's changed in your mentality and your approach in that competitive side, knowing that things could be so far away, whereas in the 57s it was more, I guess, reachable?
Yeah, I guess there's more of a sense of urgency then, right? Like this is what's next. We are winning this next, right? We're winning nationals next, then we're going to worlds, and then the goal is to win worlds next, right? So you have a sense of urgency in that kind of yearly pattern, right? And like I said, I did fall short of that one year and ended up taking second, which gives you the, well, that's not going to happen again kind of motivation, right? It was like, well, I should have won that 100%, but I failed myself. So that brings you back to that, like, yeah, I'm winning next year. With the kind of lack of I'm beating this person right now, the sense of urgency I think has just changed, right? Like, let's see how close we can get now and see if we can make it a realistic goal.
Make them shiver.
Yeah.
Did you feel that sense of urgency when you first started in the sport?
I did. Yeah. When I started in the sport, I was relatively strong to begin with, right? So I immediately qualified for nationals. I did reasonably well. I was in like the, whatever they call it, prime time in USAPL nationals, right? The first time. So yeah, from that kind of point on, once I put that first total on the platform, I was like, wait, I think I could actually be good at this. And while year one, oddly enough, Meg Scanlon won that one, which is funny. Year one, Meg Scanlon won. That was never like the goal was to win the first one, but after the first one, the goal was always to win.
Very similar to me.
Yeah.
So I did a competition. I was like, I'm quite strong, and then I did a nationals where I was like, I just randomly got invited. I think I was like a last ditch, let's fill the weight class up invitation. And I finished fourth. And then after that, I was like, okay, if I come back here, I'm winning it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the people that beat me now, I don't even know what they're doing. So I guess that worked out.
Yeah, I guess so. Longevity is huge in the sport. Stay
It
around
is.
long enough, right?
It's probably the biggest thing that I've found is like, if you just hang around, and I say it to a lot of, because I coach a lot of younger athletes as well, and I say to them, like, if you just hang around, you're going to be a part of the conversation.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, almost everybody,
literally.
right? If you hang around a while, you have decent base strength level, decent genetics to get strong. Yeah, you'll be part of the conversation eventually.
Yeah, and they don't realize, like, you've got, if we talk about like in the States, and we've had someone like Chance on here, Chance Mitchell.
Yeah.
No one really realizes how long he's fucking been around for, and just sitting in the 93s that whole time, just been going and going and going the whole time, and just not stopping. And then he eventually became world champion. Same as Keiko as well. Like, he's been around for a very, very long time. It's just no one knows who they are until they explode on social media and they think like they're the next big thing. But nah, they've been grinding for a very long time.
Yeah, you get a couple different camps, right? The ones that almost pop out of nowhere, right? They're like a year in and they're like top 3 conversation. And then you have those that were like maybe more 5 to 10 place conversation that end up just training long enough that they're in the 1 to 5 conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
I think something that you pick up is learning how to dial that sense of urgency, right? Because if you stayed unrealistic and you just kept trying to force winning in this position that you're in, like, you might run into that place where you just burn out and it's just not happening and you're not getting those outcomes that you want. But moving up a weight class, you're playing the long game, right? So eventually you want to get to that point where you can have that sense of urgency again. But throughout the whole point is just to keep you in this middle place, so where you're not burning out nor are you doing anything silly, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes back to the same thing before, right? If I stayed at 57, I probably would have quit. So the only way to stay in the sport was to gain some weight, because you can't live in that kind of chronic place I was for that forever, right? I could do it for a year and a half, 2 years, which was kind of what I knew was going to happen. But it did get a point where it's like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I have to do a little like life living, right? Like, I can't be so anal about food, travel, all of the things all the time.
Yeah.
Did you have any sense of I guess an identity crisis when you decided to move up? Because we do eventually, I know myself, I identify as a 74 because I have been my whole powerlifting career. And I guess that's kind of why I stay, in a sense, is because I identify as a 74 kilo lifter. So it's like changing my identity in a way to go up, because I've been here for so long now. Did you feel like you had that kind of that identity crisis, I suppose?
A little bit. I think a lot of it was like, you're really stepping into the unknown, right? I don't know what I can do at 63 kilos. I have absolutely no idea, right? I don't know what that looks like at all. But I kind of knew what 57 looked like, right? And I knew the path, and I knew the strength I possessed in that weight class. Just because you gain weight doesn't mean you gain strength immediately, right? And that's kind of that other thing you have to look at, right? Like, I was heavier for a while and I was the same strength. And I'm messaging Kelly like, hey, look, I'm smart enough to know that it doesn't happen instantaneously, but I'm still annoyed by this, right? Like, I'm still annoyed that I'm not stronger, but I'm 10 pounds heavier. So yeah, just letting go and kind of just stepping forward and seeing what'll happen.
Yeah, well, it brings an enjoyment back to your life, like you said, and being able to live. So, which is probably one of the factors why training can just get better, because you actually just feel better living.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, sleep is better, right? Just general daily energy levels are better. Like, I don't need caffeine to go lift weights anymore, right? Like, I could just walk out and be like, yeah, I'm lifting. Where for like a year, I was like, man, I need massive amounts of caffeine. I need to time my carbs just right. You know, all of the things had to be perfectly balanced for me to feel reasonable training.
I think one thing for myself that I've been playing with is like, I want to try and beat the best dot score, best Wilk score that I had in the weight class below. And that gives me that sense of urgency to like, oh shit, like, it's not just going up a weight class that's automatically going to give you gains, because then you're already just stepping into the unknown and accepting whatever. But like, putting your flag into the ground, being like, all right, I'm chasing for this. And that, I found that gave me a sense of urgency back. It was like, all right, it's not just going up a weight class and taking what's there. It's like, I'm going for this. And you're giving up up that old identity for something greater.
Did
It's
you
just
just-
Yeah,
not.
and you
There's
can
nothing
increase the
external
number goals,
external about
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can increase
just-
like
did
your
you just
number
make
goals,
a-
right? Like I want a total
announcement,
500
Benny?
now. You going up a weight class?
I don't know what we're talking about. I'm just speaking hypothetically.
Hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically
Old dot
speaking,
score, that's a good
nationally, of
one.
course.
That's what's shitting me at the moment because like obviously I went from 105 to 120 and like I pulled 360 last Monday and it's still not 3 times body weight. Like I've never pulled a 3 times body weight deadlift, even though I just pulled 360. I'm like, fuck's sake.
Yeah, that is annoying.
I've kept getting heavier and I'm getting stronger, but it's still not. I just want that 3 times. Come on. I should have cut
Me and
down
Danny
quite a
like
bit.
that. We rep that out for 10.
I know it's shitting me. I'm like, fuck, it's 3 times. It's not like it doesn't sound
I'm
that
not
heavy.
even attached. I'm not even attached to what times it is. Like, oh, it is 3 times. That's cool.
I just had to do math in my head. So I had no idea. I'm like, wait, what?
You're like, oh yeah, I clear that for reps.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I was the same though.
think
Like
that's-
when I just real quick, I was the same when I went from like 105 to 120. Like I didn't really kind of feel any of the strength gains until like now, really, over the last like 2 years. So it took me like 2 years to really start to absorb all the kind of strength gains that came from going up a weight class, and that's obviously partly Kelly and my programming strategies and stuff is improving, and we're learning more and more about what works for me. But yeah, like I know what you mean about like going up and then like feeling like you're not getting stronger even though you're 10 pounds or 10 kilos heavier.
Really annoying.
But yeah, you just gotta ride it out, and those gains will come.
For sure. Stay in it long enough.
Yeah, marathon, not a sprint.
Mm.
All right, well, yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, Brittany, for coming on. If you just want to do a shout of your socials so people can find you on the Instagram and stuff, and obviously we'll do a bit of a Instagram post for when we release this podcast. But yeah, how can people find you?
Yeah, cool. It's my name on Instagram. So just at Brittany Suplicki, no hyphens, no anything. Sound it out. That's how you spell it.
Suplicki.
Supplicki.
Suplicki.
Sweet. Thanks,
Thank you for
Britt.
coming on.
Thanks, Britt.
Yeah, thanks, guys.